Good evening, everyone. My name is Tony Mancuso, and I lead communication efforts for the Summer Help Professions Education Program, also known as SHPEP. For those of you who aren't aware, SHPEP is a free 6-week summer enrichment program for college freshmen and sophomore students who are interested in the health professions. To learn more, please visit shpep.org. During tonight's session, you will hear strategies to make your application stand out from our University of Washington and Western University of Health Sciences program sites. Please use the Q&A feature to ask any questions during tonight's session. And as always, SHPEP webinars are posted on our YouTube channel within a week of the live viewing. Nora, feel free to take it away.
Thank you, Tony. Hi, everyone. It's nice to see all of you join us today. And we hope that after viewing this presentation that you are going to sit down and complete or begin your application. So my name is Nora Coronado. I'm the Director of Community Engagement and Partnership Development at the University of Washington. I also direct our UW SHPEP program. At our site, we have 3 career tracks, medicine and dentistry, which all sites have, but we also include public health. Maria?
Thank you, Nora. Hi, everyone. My name is Maria Moreno, and I'm the manager of pipeline programming at Western University of Health Sciences, also known as Western U. At our site, we have the following 4 tracks available for students: medicine, dentistry, optometry, and physical therapy. So to get us started, we want to know a little bit about you all. So we have the following 2 poll questions to help us understand who are we serving today, and what kind of questions might we potentially get in the future as we proceed into the presentation. Thank you all for participating. We're almost done with the first question. So what's your year in school? Are you a college freshman, sophomore, junior, senior? Or are you other? If you're other, you may put NA. Thank you. We need a couple more individuals. If you could please participate, this will help myself and Nora be able to understand our audience. Thank you. Maybe share the results, Tony? Okay, awesome. It looks like a majority of our individuals participating today are freshmen and sophomores, and we do have a few juniors and seniors. This presentation does focus on the requirements are for freshmen and sophomores, unless you're from a community college where your educational path is a little different from your other peers. But we can provide some other resources at the end of the presentation for juniors and seniors. And we're going to send you another poll. Okay. Thank you, Tony. Can we share the second poll? Oh, never mind. The poll was already shared. For the second one, where were you joining us from? A lot of you, 93 of you, are joining us from the East Coast. West Coast 37, Midwest 18, Mid-East 8, and other locations 18. So this is really exciting. Thank you all for joining us. We understand that you're joining us at different times. Okay. Again, we want to know a little bit more about you all. So if you can all share in the chat, what is one of your favorite things about the holidays or winter break? And Tony, can we make this make the chat shareable for everyone to view? Thank you, everyone. Okay, so a lot of y'all really like Christmas. I agree on the food. No school, that's the same for myself and Nora. We got a break as well. Spending time with friends and family, so different from last year, right, everyone? Thanksgiving. Food and sleep, yes. I caught up on a lot of sleep. What about you, Nora?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you all for taking a moment to be able to share. We're going to close up. We're going to make the chat private again, but we appreciate you all taking an opportunity to share a little bit about yourselves.
So the first thing that we want to cover, actually, the first thing I want to cover is that keep your questions coming in the Q&A. We will answer those at the end, but keep them coming because we will review them throughout and we'll be able to answer a lot of them at the end. So the first thing that comes up is holistic review. So our application process, we do review them holistically. So what does that mean? It means that we're not just focusing on your GPA, but we're also looking at what are some of the activities that you've taken on, your leadership roles, what does your essay look like, what does your letter of recommendation look like. We also put on here not rolling admissions. And what that means is that we review the applications as they come in. So we don't see your applications until they are, until all parts of your applications go into the national program site, and then they are released to the hopefully 3 sites that you've applied to. And then we review them as they come in, but we make that final decision for our group in March. So as I mentioned, it's not all about your grades. You don't have to have a 4.0 GPA to participate in SHPEP, but we're looking at what are your strengths? What on your application, what are we seeing that we see as a strength to get into the health profession of your choice? And where are those areas of growth? So how can SHPEP help you fill those gaps? And can we, or can SHPEP have a positive impact on your trajectory so that you know, the goal is to get into the health profession program of your choice.
Thank you, Nora, for sharing a little bit what a holistic review is all about. And again, we're going to, here I'm going to share a little bit more in detail what I was, as an example, what Western U utilizes. Now, for all the sites, all 12 sites, we do use the holistic review approach. This holistic review approach it can vary and differ on the details of what is important to each of the individual sites. And so specifically here, I'll be sharing a little bit about Western U's holistic review. And so for the holistic review at Western U, we do focus on being able to review all the criteria that you submit. We review your official transcripts, and as Nora stated, GPA isn't everything that's important. We're also trying to gauge your academic preparation at the time that you're applying for a SHPEP, which moving forward, I'm going to be calling it SHPEP because it's easier for me. So when we're reviewing your academic preparation, yes, we look at your GPA, but we also want to know what kind of sciences have you taken or are you going to take in your upcoming semester or quarter? What kind of grade have you received? Did you retake a class and received a better grade at the second time? And so we want to see that projection of growth when we're looking at your classes and your grades. And then how will SHPEP help your academic preparation? If you have taken one science and let's say you got a C or a B, well, how can SHPEP, if you come to our site, how can we strengthen your study skills and your confidence in being able to take on the next series of biology or chemistry, all the type of sciences you're going to have to undertake as recommendations to matriculate. Once we review your official transcripts, this gives us an idea of your academic preparation, which on the right-hand side, you'll see that we'll score it, and we have different 3 individuals reviewing the one application. And so we have a lot of applications we're having to review, and so our admissions individuals are very intentional and try to be as fair as possible. The other 2 aspects that we're going to get information from are your letter of recommendation. How did this individual share a little bit about your personality, who you are as an individual, and how you will be able to succeed in this health profession that you're interested in? Then we do look in your extracurricular activities and your essay to be able to determine, for our site, how mission fit are you? And then what is your personal score? Personal score can come from, are you how committed are you to the health profession in regards to what kind of classes have you taken? Have you done any volunteering? Have you done work in the community? Have you done shadowing with potential health professionals? Or are you just a leader in an organization or club? These kind of indicators and things that you share in your application help us identify you as an individual. And additionally, for your essay, that's going to help us hear a little bit more about you in your words. But we'll share a little bit about that later. So what are activities that you can share? During the pandemic, we understand that a lot of you were limited on what kind of opportunities you can undertake. So we understand that these opportunities can vary from virtual meetings with clubs or organizations. So if you're in a leadership role that you took on this past year or this last quarter or semester, please write it down. It's okay if it doesn't have a long duration. We just want to understand what kind of opportunities are you creating for yourself. Taking care of your siblings and family is a job. And it is a big responsibility, and you do learn skill sets from there. So if you had family duties or responsibilities during the pandemic or the last 2 years, and this didn't allow you to expand to outside opportunities, it's okay to share that as an activity. I took care of my sibling. I had to learn how to help them out with their homework. I had to create extracurricular activities for them so they could release energy. Those are skill sets you're learning at home as well. So don't take it for granted. Participation in clubs, volunteering, working. A lot of you have undertaken work to be able to support your families and yourself and your education. So do state it. And if you joined any sports in the past 6 months, that it was we were able to get that started again. So treat your application like you would a resume. Share as much as possible. Focus on the used action item terminology to share about your activities.
As Maria mentioned, because of COVID, you may not have had an opportunity to get involved in shadowing or take on some leadership responsibilities. She also reminded you that taking care of siblings can really increase your skills and provide for your own personal growth. For any of those who've had to do that in the past, you know that is true. So what can you do if your activities are low and your leadership responsibilities are not low as well? You can focus on your letter recommendation. So make sure that you ask somebody who can write you a really strong letter of recommendation. You can also put a lot of time and focus on your personal statement. So make sure that, which we will talk about in a few minutes, but make sure that you spend some time perfecting that as well as you can. And then you can also leave a note, although we know that many students don't have those opportunities, but you can also mention that in your personal statement that you haven't had an opportunity to engage in activities and how SHPEP can be helpful for that. So we're going to talk about, for a few minutes, the letters of recommendation. So a question that I often get is, what do I do if I'm a freshman and I haven't gotten to know a professor, an advisor? And we know that, especially if you're attending a large university, that's a little bit more difficult. We know that when you're applying, you're either in your first quarter or just beginning your second quarter or semester. And so you haven't had a lot of opportunity to reach out to professors or advisors. And on top of that, the pandemic may have caused you to use Zoom as your method of interaction with other people, faculty and advisors. So for freshmen, it's okay if you go to an employer that you've worked with who knows you really well and can speak to your strengths. It's also okay to go back to your high school STEM instructor who can also speak to your strengths. That's okay. When you're a second year student, I think you need to think more about, and we recommend the pandemic has been around for 2 years, so it may have impacted you as well, but you're at the point where you are having to think about creating those relationships with professors who can think about writing you a letter when you as you progress and start applying for a health profession school. So consider that as that this may be a beginning for that, and that relationship with that professor, that you check in with them every now and then to let them know how you're doing. So so we would recommend that you try to get a letter from a professor, an advisor, a TA that you've been working with for a long time. So another tip that I have in terms of this, and Maria will talk about some additional tips, but part of the application is a checkbox of your attributes. So I recommend that the letter writer completes that checkbox, but that they also take the time to write a letter of recommendation for you as well.
So here's some helpful tips on how to ask for a letter recommendation. If you haven't asked right now, that should be your next task after this presentation. So when you ask for a letter recommendation, it is important to ask the individuals you're interested in getting a letter of recommendation, or I'm going to coin it LOR moving forward. It allows them to be able to schedule themselves in all their work duties and their own social duties to be able to include time to create your letter of recommendation. So ask early, send them a nice friendly email. So what can you prepare to do your when you're going to reach out to an individual? When you reach out in your email, you must have these pointers, right? These key points right here. Share about the program name and provide access to the website, because they may be another individual in the future that that could recommend the program to other students as well. So this is an opportunity to share about SHPEP. Provide a brief little paragraph about what the program will do and help you grow professionally if you were accepted. Always include the application due date. That way, it helps them schedule themselves to be able to piece out time to create your letter of recommendation. Next, after you do send the email, we'll go back to step number 2, provide friendly follow-ups. Give yourself, maybe you'll follow up with them in 3 days or within a week, depending on when the application is due and when you sent that first email. Provide friendly follow-ups. Let them know, hi, I reached out to you earlier. You can reach them out with that email that you sent the first time, and just remind them if they can be your letter of your recommender, and you must get a confirmation for them. This way, you don't have duplicate letter of recommendations, because you can only submit one for SHPEP. We also highly encourage that, as Nora said, have them write a letter recommendation, not just submit this checklist. The checklist, we do review it, but it does not provide a lot of insight to who you are. It just provides a simple little checklist of, yes, this individual can communicate, but we want to know you as a person as well while we're reading the application. And the hardest part that you all have at this point is asking someone. So take these little tips and construct your little template email on how to ask for a letter recommendation. And you could use this template email for future occasions as well, just modifying and tweaking it up as you progress in your education.
And Maria, I have one additional piece to add to that is you do want to write a professional email to them. I think we're all very used to writing these texts with and abbreviating every word possible in our text. And so you do want to make sure that your email is professional to your letter writer.
Indeed, you're practicing your most professional self, so it's important to start incorporating it in all the emails that you send out especially through your school emails. Now we're going to move on to the personal statement. Oops.
No, good.
And I'll hand it off to Nora.
Thank you, Maria. So the SHPEP personal statement guidelines, you will find them at www.shpep.org. And so you'll want to check the personal statement that you write against these guidelines. So I will mention them very quickly, but you can find this on the website. So your personal statement, this is your opportunity to share why you're interested in pursuing a health professions career and what makes you an ideal SHPEP scholar. So you'll want to consider including any economic, cultural, and or social experiences you've had, obstacles you have overcome, and a community service that shaped your interest in a particular health profession. So the points you want to consider when you're writing your personal statement are: how has your personal background, interests, and experiences influenced your decision to pursue a career in healthcare? What do you want the program sites to know about you that has not been disclosed in another part of the application? So some examples for this are to include your interests and or experiences in reducing healthcare disparities, advancing diversity, and improving healthcare for all. You can write up to 600 words or approximately 1 full page. If this seems daunting, you absolutely do not have to write a full page for your personal statement. We'll talk about what will make a strong personal statement soon. But don't let a personal statement or having to do the writing piece prevent you from applying to this program. This program will be very helpful for you. And we're pulling for you to get your application in and to be accepted at one of our sites. One of the questions that often comes up is you only have to write 1 personal statement, but you can apply to 3 sites, which we highly recommend. But you may be interested in different health careers. So as you know, medicine and dentistry are offered at all of the 12 sites. So maybe you're interested in, medicine at Iowa. You might be interested in, what does dentistry look like? So you might want to apply to dentistry at Columbia. And maybe you want to apply to physical therapy at Western U. So you want to make sure that you include that somewhere in your personal statement so that they know what your interests are for each of those sites. Because when we're reviewing those applications, we will put you in a certain bucket depending on what your interests are. So you want to make sure that that is really clear to the sites that you're applying to. And it's okay to explore. That's why this program is for freshmen and sophomores. We recognize that you're at the early stages of exploring a health career. So that's okay to state that.
So we understand personal statements are very difficult to start, but the reason we want you to want you to really focus on sharing your stories because you're not just a number. We understand that everything that you've done to reach up to where you are academically, you've shown resiliency, you've shown determination, you've shown that you have a goal for yourself. And we want to know what inspires you and motivates you every day to continue. College is difficult, and at some points we may get those classes or tasks or assignments that just make us feel overwhelmed, or we may get imposter syndrome. And for some way or reason, you have individuals supporting you, or you have your own self-motivation to keep you going and to successfully be able to graduate college. So tell us your story. How did you get to this point? Why are you interested in the health professions? It is a moment to tell us who you are as a person. So after we know that you're not just a number and you're sharing your story, we want to also want you to be mindful of reviewing the instructions of the personal statement. What is being asked? What are the key questions that need to be answered? Answer those questions first, and then you could structure your essay so that it's more so that the story flows better. It is very important. We highly suggest that you share right in the beginning. What health profession are you interested in? A lot of the admission teams across the sites, they're reviewing up to 100 applications throughout a 2-month span. And we want to be able to provide justice to you all, but we also need your support in identifying what is the track that you're interested in, what is the health profession you're interested in, and why. So let's get straight to that. Let's target that question really quickly and early on and share the rest of the story. I'll provide, as Nora stated before, your obstacles, your story to where you got to college and where you're at now may stem from a lot of different life experiences. It could be an immigration migration story where you understand the similarities and differences between how healthcare is being provided here and outside of the country. Most of you might be first generations, and first generation college students. There are a lot of obstacles that come along the way, and we want to understand your resiliency and being able to continue on, even though you're having to tackle so much while studying, while taking exams. We understand you're strong individuals. Remind us in your story. And share what kind of community services have you done outside, or what are the type of volunteer opportunities that you want to be able to take on as you continue your trajectory into college. And then how these experiences, how can they serve others? How can your experience help you as a future health professional relate to your patients? Tell us that portion too. Nora, did you have any other input or feedback in regards to this section?
No, you covered it really nicely, Maria. I think the thing is, if you are a first generation student, please be sure to point that out in your personal statement. That can be important as we're reviewing applications.
Okay, and so right here we have a well-written essay as an example for you all. The bolded sections are the areas that told us those pieces of that story of this individual. And so for this individual, they're right in the first sentence, they let us know they want to be a doctor. What kind of doctor? We don't know yet. We're hoping that SHPEP will then expand her view in what specialty she'll want to join in. But she wants to be a doctor, and she became inspired by her own grandfather and seeing the struggles that he had to go through in the healthcare system. She then goes on to share how her grandfather is one of many individuals that don't receive adequate health during their lifetime, and this acknowledgement of inadequate healthcare access made her join a lab at UNC, where she was able to explore research, and then she continues to share in the last bolded section how the skills that she wants to learn as a health professional, she wants to be able to enrich other students. And she also shared her story as being a Black woman in the STEMs, how she doesn't, this section tells us that she understands that there isn't a lot of representation in the health professions for leaders that look like her. And so she wants to be part of that success story, to be able to be in those kind of positions so she could be someone else's mentor. So this is the type of story we want to be able to learn about you, your passion, your drive, what you want to be. Nora, did you catch any other sections from this essay that you really liked?
No, I think you did, again, another great job. What I would suggest to people, yes, Tony has put this out, is if you want to take a screenshot of this essay, please feel free to do so. And then we have another one that was not as well written that you are also welcome to take a screenshot of, but we wanted to give you an opportunity to do that. Thanks, Maria.
No problem. Thank you, Nora, for that reminder. Okay, so we'll hold it for a couple more seconds here. Okay, perfect. We'll move on. Okay, and so this is another example of another essay. This essay itself, grammatically, punctuation-wise, has no issues. But as you notice, the bolding area is a lot more spaced out, and it's later on in the essay. So the recommendation for this essay is that this essay, if the individual had more time, or individuals to review what they put together, they would have structured it differently so that their story is more direct and easier to read for the reviewer or the admissions team. So some of the highlights that this individual did share is that they are interested in physical therapy, and they're interested in this because of their exposure to going to the gym and practicing wushu. Then later on, they're able to share a little bit more about why is it that physical therapy appeals to them, and it's because it improves the person's quality of life. And they shared a little bit more about the physical therapy and exactly what is it that caught their interest before that. So the structure of this essay is not well balanced. The last thing that they were able to share is they are interested in dentistry as well, but they left this right at the end of their essay, and so they weren't able to expand. So there needs to be a balance here.
So we wanted just to close with thinking about what are the strengths of these applications and what are the needs for improvement. So an application that has, or a personal statement that does really well is one that has minimal to no spelling, punctuation, or grammar issues. It actually tells a story. So a person is drawn into your story when they begin reading it. And a lot of times they want to hear more. I find myself when I'm reading them feeling that way. It's like, I want to meet this student. It tells us why you're interested in the health profession careers that you're interested, or even if you're exploring different careers, that's okay. And it's very reflective about your story. So it's connecting the obstacles, hardships, and steps that you've overcome. So, and these are the things, and I'll talk about the needs for improvement, but this is really a beginning of thinking about writing your essays when you're applying to medical school, dental school, or any other health profession, because we're looking for students who are reflective, who are looking back at and connecting those stories and the things that they've done to prepare to go into a health profession. So the second one did need some improvements, as Maria mentioned. The grammar and punctuation were fine, but it's always something to look at. And you also need to make sure, you know, if one that is weaker is it doesn't address the points made in the personal statement guidelines. So that's why always checking back and seeing if you're covering each of the, you know, that they're asking for. Is not specific. So where is the story? Where is this going? Is it rambling and doesn't have an end, or it doesn't blossom into who you are and tells us about you? What is a profession you're interested in? Sometimes we're left wondering, is this person really interested in medicine, or are they interested in public health? We're not sure. And sometimes students are interested in both. We understand that as well. And a lack of sharing the reflection. So talking about how does it relate to your resilience, and really showing that you're reflecting on your story and what you will bring to the program and also to the health professions.
And so we're really reinforcing, trying to provide as many tips to be able to really impact your personal statement, especially again if you're lacking on the other areas such as extracurricular activities. Your personal statement is another area to be able to strengthen. So what can you do? You definitely need to put in the time. Time to be able to carve out the key points in answering all the questions from the personal statement, and then start structuring it so that it creates a nice cohesive story. Use your college writing center so that you can have different individuals provide you different feedback. Feedback is very important. Sometimes when we're writing something, we get so fixated and we just don't know how to make it different, how to improve it. So it's always helpful to have many eyes on your personal statement that can help you, give you little tips, and you can always that's where you take and leave some of those tips to be able to fit your personality and your the way you want to present your story. Get it, share the guidelines and have someone proofread it from multiple point of view. So besides your college writing center, have a really close friend be able to read it over. Someone, or have a family member that really knows you that can help point out some other aspects about yourself or your strengths that you didn't share before, and they're reminding you of those attributes you have. So get multiple point of views. You don't always have to reach out to individuals you don't know. You can reach out to your really close network as well for support. So peer review, peer review, peer review as much as you can during this time that we before the application is due. Again, sharing your story is hard, but that's how it reminds us, the sites and the admissions team, know that you are an individual that is going to succeed, whether they are in SHPEP or not. You have made it this far, and we just want to hear your story.
Okay. So as you know, as you may know, the deadline is February 5th, but you still have time to apply. There's plenty of time to make that happen. So I'm sure many of you have already gone to the shpep.org site and have tooled around in there looking at the different parts of that. So you don't have a lot of things that you need to do, but you do need to register for your AAMC account because you are going to want to connect those to your letter of recommendation and to your transcripts. You'll want to complete the online application. And one of the things I'm really going to stress with you is you want to get an official transcript from each college you've attended. So what we know is that many times what prevents an application from going forward from the national office is that students have not submitted transcripts from each of the colleges they've attended. So if you've done a Running Start program, high school to college, you need to submit that transcript. If you've taken one class at a college, you need to submit that transcript so that it is sent on to the sites that you're interested in attending. And then also a one letter recommendation.
Mm-hmm. And we'll also like to share a little note. You can use the application checklist on your account. Once you open your account, there is an application checklist that helps you ensure that you completed all these tasks. And the SHPEP National Program Office also sends you friendly reminders that you still have some sections to complete. So you have a lot of individuals within the AAMC account that are providing you support to successfully submit a completed application.
So you're at the point you're like, help, I just learned about this program. I want to apply, but the deadline is February 5th. What can I do? What are those important steps that I need to take? So as we mentioned, you want to start that application so that you get your AAMC ID number. So then the couple next steps I think are really important to get onto, maybe even today after this presentation, is you want to order your official transcripts from any college you've attended. So I'm just reiterating it, should be highlighted, right? So the other thing is you want to think about who is that person I want a letter recommendation from, and you can get that out tonight as well, and a nice email to them with all the tips that Maria provided from a slide that you've already seen. And then at that point, you have a little time to then start working on your essay so that you have time to go to your writing center or to share it with others for their review. And then you complete the other parts of the application, which is your leadership role, some activities you've been involved in, any shadowing or community service. So those are just some ideas of some steps I would take if I was in this position, but don't let it stop you that the deadline's coming up. Get that application in. I've heard from many students who regret not applying to SHPEP. So you don't want to be one of those students.
And I just want to acknowledge that Nora was kind enough to be able to put this nice little timeline for you all to feel less stress and taking on this task. Again, we want you to be successful, and at this point, after you have this nice timeline, it's just handling. You're having to juggle all these different types of action items that you have, but once you juggle it and you just do it, you'll feel a lot more successful, and you'll be grateful that you submitted the application. So Nora, thank you so much for putting this timeline together for the students. Okay, so what's the takeaway? SHPEP is going to be a safe space for you to grow and learn, not only for yourself, but within a community of other individuals that are interested in the health professions as well. You will make lifelong friends and build your support network that will continue off after the summer. We stay connected with a lot of the alumni from our own sites, and we get so excited to hear that they're still staying connected and chatting, sending emails, or visiting each other across the U.S. Because the SHPEP program usually in-person program, you're seeing these individuals 24/7, and virtually, fortunately, we were able to also make those connections nice and strong as well.
And I think I would also add that a couple of things is that many of you may not have health profession, health professions in your background. You may not have family members who have health careers. So this is a great way to learn the things that you need to do, the things that some folks know how to do, and maybe you don't know all of those steps that need to be taken to matriculate into a health profession school. And that's one of our goals, is to build those skills for, help you build those skills. And I think another important piece of this program is that sense of belonging. So, in an in-person environment, you will be walking the halls of the places that you can envision yourself being in a few short years, or however long it takes for you to get there. But that sense of belonging is really important, to see yourselves there and in those halls and in those spaces, that you belong there.
Thank you, Nara. That's beautifully said. That's right. We want you all to know that when you make it, you deserve to be there. Okay, so at this time, we're going to open it. We have one more community question, a poll that will be opened up. So if you could please let us know, how do you feel after this application, after this presentation? Okay, a majority are feeling a little more confident about the presentation. A few are a little nervous. It is intimidating having to complete applications, but once you just get started, just remind yourself, just complete it, just answer the questions the way they're being asked, and don't think about it. There's no trick questions in the application, promise. And some of you are feeling neutral, just taking in, absorbing like sponges. Okay, thank you all for telling us a little bit, giving us some direct feedback. Okay, so that's the overall sentiment from all the participants. Thank you again for sharing. Okay, and now we're going to open it up to the Q&A, which we see is really, really busy in the Q&A chat box.
Yes, it has been. And, I wanted to say thank you for hosting this session for us and really giving us a deep dive into the application. That being said, I see quite a few questions in the Q&A feature, and I'm definitely going to ask them as we go along. So, for students, and I'm going to generalize because I did see a lot of key themes. So I'm going to more so talk about that. So let's say I'm a student, right? And I didn't do so well. Like, I had a really bad semester, right? I still have that 2.5 GPA. Like, how does that affect my application as you're reviewing it? Like, what is it that you're looking for in that situation? Especially as a college freshman as well. If you could speak to like how that looks for a freshman and how that looks for a sophomore, that would be ideal.
Nora, do you want to go first, and I can share after?
I think, I think there is adjustment that is made between high school and being a freshman in college. So we recognize that sometimes GPAs drop at that time. And so, so we know that. So you can strengthen other areas, as we mentioned before. You can, with your activities and leadership responsibilities, you can talk about that in your personal statement. You can even mention, maybe you had some reasons that your GPA was low. Although, as I mentioned, we see that it's not unusual to see that happen as a freshman. And I think even as a sophomore, I think just discussing it in your personal statement, what you think happened there, is important for us to see. We're not looking, as I mentioned, for you to be perfect. We're looking to see how we can help you create a positive trajectory in the future. There's still time to do that, even if you have a bad semester or quarter.
Mm-hmm. Everyone's pathway to the health professions is very different. For some individuals, it's going to take multiple retakes of the MCAT, or having to apply multiple times to be able to get accepted into the health profession they're interested. So don't be discouraged because you are having difficulty in a semester or in a quarter. What we want to see in your transcripts is, if you took a class and you didn't do so well, did you retake it and did you get better, even if it's slightly better? What was the reflection piece behind that? Did you change your study tactic? Were you applying a different routine for yourself that semester? So you gotta, and the personal statement, as Nora said, is going to be the best place where you could share that reflection piece of what was going on, but what that got you to that GPA, and then what is keeping you in still wanting to be in the health professions.
Thank you for that. And, I think, there's a lot of questions centered around the work and activities section. So, let me put myself in the shoes of a student, right? I am a college freshman and, I just, finished high school and I just learned about this program. The pandemic has really limited me in opportunities and experiences, even as a sophomore student as well. I would even argue that, for sophomore students, it's been a little bit more difficult as well. My question to you is, can I include high school experiences? How does that look like for both a college freshman or sophomore student?
When it comes to that, we understand that during the pandemic, opportunities were so limited, if there were any, and each state had different regulations and policies that were being implemented. So opportunities for both freshmen and sophomores were super limited, and we understand that. So that's not a criteria that we're gonna be harsh on or very highly critical. But we do want to know, what else were you doing then? If you didn't have an opportunity to shadow or volunteer or be in a club, because clubs were just shut down in your college, in general, what were you doing to sustain yourself in believing in your dream that you want to be a health professional? So that's why Nora and I did share, if you were babysitting your family and siblings or other family members, or maybe you were taking care of elderly family member, that's already jobs that our nurses are having to do in the health profession. Those are skill sets that can be applied in your future work jobs. So let's identify other things that you were doing. Maybe you started taking your own just classes on your own, separate in a different platform. Discord and TikToks were areas where people were also learning how to expand their hobbies and skill sets. So share about that, those kind of activities. Those kind of hobbies can help you then later relate to your patients, because you're not just a doctor, you're a human being as well. And you gotta remind yourself, as a health professional, you're interacting with human beings. So you're okay. It's okay to be a human being as well with them. Nora? Oh, you're on mute, Nora.
I don't know when I put myself on mute, I'm sorry. I think Maria covered that really well. I think even in classes, did you TA students? Did you have do any tutoring? So you can do some of those things online as well. So as she mentioned, we're quite understanding of how the pandemic has really shut down different states, some more than others. So.
Thank you for that. And, as we start thinking about like the entire application and things like that, we run into students that may have not taken any science courses. How does that look like on an application as well? Being that, typically you have a science focus when applying to like a health professions program. How do we look at that?
I think we're fine with that. Particularly if you're a freshman, we recognize you may be applying in your first quarter or your first semester, and maybe you plan on taking some of those science courses the next quarter or semester. And one of the reasons that we focus on freshmen and sophomore is partly because we do teach some classes in SHPEP, and some of those classes we hope will help you with your GPA, your confidence as you go back to school and take those foundational science courses. So we're quite fine with that.
So again, just share in your personal statement, what were the obstacles that that led you not to take a science? Maybe it was intimidating having to take such a rigorous course right off the bat during the pandemic, where if you're for most of you didn't even have an in-person graduation ceremony, and those are difficult situations. They can impact your mental well-being, your physical well-being in a way that having to take on very difficult courses will dissuade you, and you'll want to do that when you feel more confident and you sort of you wet your feet already in college. So it's completely understandable. Share that in your personal statement if that was one of your obstacles. And Nora is correct in that all the SHPEP sites, you are going to be exposed to the STEM. So know that it is going to be difficult curriculum that you are going to be undertaking, and this curriculum is not going to go back to your college as credits. You don't need to fear. It's just more of an exposure and experience, and then to allow you to just expand on what are ways that you can how you can improve so that you do successfully matriculate.
Thank you for that, Maria and Nora. And, we're seeing questions about, the new question we recently added to our application, which is that distance traveled question, which specifically asks, are there any challenges or hardships that influence your journey to a health profession's career to this point that you would like to discuss in more detail, right? So as applicants start navigating this, obviously in this part of the section, it's not meant to be another personal statement, right? But could you speak to like what you want to see in this particular part of the application?
Can we ask that question again, Tony? I apologize.
Sure. So as far as like the distance traveled question, obviously, this is a place where students can, talk about some of the hardships they would have faced, and it's in place of our new disadvantage. Basically, it used to be the disadvantaged status question, and but based on terminology, we've had to shift, and we wanted to really rename it a distance travel question because it's to be more inclusive of applicants. Now, in this situation, like, what are you really looking for in this question from applicants?
Okay. I think what we want to see is that it's another aspect of your story that sometimes it can't be incorporated within your essay. So because you're trying to create a nice storyline that is feasible for an admissions reader to be able to look through and understand who you are. So that piece is to allow us to understand other aspects of your community, where you were raised, the type of resources you had. It helps us keep that in mind as we're moving forward with making our final decisions. So are you maybe you're an individual who did have good healthcare access around your neighborhood, or you did have insurance, but maybe you're in a state where, yes, you have a good insurance, but you had to go 30 miles away from your home to be able to get access to a facility. So letting us know what kind of environment you grew up in and what kind of obstacles maybe you didn't experience, but you reflected around in your community, things that are missing and equitable situations that influenced your decision on wanting to become a health professional and make a difference. Nora, did you have other pieces to share?
The only other piece, thank you, Maria. I think you did a great job of covering that. I think the other piece is, Tony is right. We're not looking for another essay. We don't want this to stop you from applying because you're writing and writing and writing. So it's okay to add bullet points under these. We're fine with that. So just making sure that you're speaking to those high points. It does not have to be an essay. You have one essay for this application, but those can be bullet points.
Thank you for reminding me about that, Nora. Yes, it is bullet points. Not that your life is a bullet point. It just allows us to understand the layers of experiences that you had or have recognized in your own life. Bullet points are fine with us.
Perfect. And I'm going to ask you more of a site-specific questions as far as applications are concerned, right? So let's say I live in the East Coast, right? Both of you are on the West Coast, or, how does admissions work with that on each of your sites? Like, are you like, can anyone basically apply in the United States to your specific site? How does that work?
Nora, I'll invite you. Invite you.
All right. So, I will say this, is that our catchment area is what we call WWAMIO. So it's Washington, Wyoming, Alaska, Montana, Idaho, and Oregon. And so we really do follow that in terms of our applications for those who are interested in medicine. For our School of Dentistry, it includes the WWAMIO site, but also what is called WICHE. So we also review applications from Arizona, Hawaii, and there might be North Dakota. There's another state that we look at for our dental applications. And for the students who are interested in public health, we review the whole nation. So anybody interested in public health can come from anywhere.
Mm-hmm. For the Western Youth side, we take that into consideration at the very end of our decision making. We, as Nora, we're on the West Coast, so we have the same site location requirements that we want to target. One, just to be able to expand on the recognition of SHPEP and its resources in the West Coast, and that's why the locations on our site focus on the West Coast mostly, but it doesn't mean that we only exclusively take in West Coast individuals. So after we review all the applications, it's a 3-step process. We read them once to make sure everyone fulfills their requirements. Then we have 2 other readers that are specifically from that track or health profession that are gonna then sort of give you make decisions and allot your criteria of personal attributes, academic preparation, and I forgot the third one that we have. But we take that all into consideration and we put you into bins. Are you going to be accepted, waitlisted, or denied? Once we have all those bins sorted out, we then go to our accepted bin, and that's where we start targeting, we start fulfilling our requirements, and then we expand from all over the nation.
Perfect. So it's suggested that anybody applying to SHPEP should communicate with each of the program sites at some point, so like that they can figure out as far as like their recruitment and strategy efforts and things like that. But even with that, honestly, I would also say that there are, like you said, it's not mutually exclusive. Like if you're on the West Coast, you have to apply to a West Coast site, or if you're on the East Coast, you have to apply to an East Coast site, or if you're in the Midwest or whichever region you are, obviously, right? Obviously, given the what's going on with the pandemic and things like that, it is preferred, honestly, because at the same time, given the travel and things like that, it is preferred that you at least apply to one program site within your area, as far as if you're on the West Coast or East Coast or the closest available program site to you. And then the other ones, you can honestly pick other program sites that you honestly would like to go to, right? And again, these the answers from these program sites are going to differ from everything else that we've heard in our previous webinars as well. So it's always good to check with each of our program sites. That being said, I know we're really close on time. Any parting words for our audience here?
SHPEP is fun, super fun, not only for you as students, but for us who organize it and do the logistical work and putting the curriculum together and making sure that the housing is ready for you all. It's a fun experience. It's gonna be such a big part of your memory in college. And with that said, as Tony said, we encourage you explore outside of the state, but also be mindful that we are still under pandemic sort of policy and procedures. So be mindful that to choose something close to you, so that way things change within the sites in the future, it won't impact you as much. But yes, it's going to be so much fun being part of the program. We're all going to be a part of your network forever.
Yeah, and I would like to add as part of the last question is that say you are from Washington State, you reside in Washington State, but you're going to school, maybe Duke. I would encourage you to apply to the Washington State site and also the where Duke is located, the catchment area, because you may have a higher chance of getting into at least one of those program sites. I think SHPEP, like Maria mentioned, it is a lot of fun. I think the connecting among students from similar backgrounds is so important. And then we love, we spend a lot of time working on this program. We meet every week since September until the program starts, and it's to prepare the best program that we can. And I know other sites do that as well. But we, part of that is we love keeping in touch with you and hearing whether you've gotten into a health profession school so we can congratulate you and cheer you on. We like to keep in touch so we can share other enrichment programs with you that you may want to participate in the following year. So I think it's a really great program, and I really, really hope that you decide to apply. And Maria just changed the slide over. So I know a lot of you didn't get some of your questions answered, feel free to reach out to us and we're happy to get back to respond to you. And if you do reach out to some other sites, I also recommend that you ask them for a weekly schedule. So ask them to give you 1 week schedule so you have a sense of how their program runs as well. They're all run a little bit differently. They're all great programs though.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And I know we need to end already soon, but for our juniors and seniors that did join us, know that even though you can't, this application for SHPEP is something that you can't apply to. There are other resources in SHPEP.org for other opportunities that you can embark in. And for Western U specifically, if you are nearby or close to the university, you could always reach out to me and our team, and we could provide you other opportunities, even if it's just a one-day thing. That way you could just be able to expand and grow your resume if you're still interested in pursuing the health profession. So don't let this dissuade you. It is a very competitive application process, but you've also made other connections to these universities and colleges. So connect, build your network, and reach out.
Perfect. And you know what, as you said that, as far as college juniors and seniors, I just dropped 3 links in the chat. So like that, if you need some resources as far as other programs that you may be eligible for, you'll be able to find them at those 3 links. We definitely want to make sure that even though you're not quite eligible for SHPEP or you're just a little bit past the credit limit, we definitely want to make sure that you have all the resources that are available to you at your disposal. So definitely take those links in, and I highly recommend that you visit those sites and do your research on some of these other programs that hopefully will offer you the enrichment that you'll need. That being said, I just want to say thanks again to Nora and Maria for joining us, and have a great evening, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.